What is up, party people? Welcome back to our channel, as my daughter would say. I'm coming at you from a very early morning post because all of my children are still asleep. It has been a very, very hectic week. Let's just leave it at that. It's been a very, very long week. And I've wanted to post this and I've wanted to record this and I haven't had a chance because I had no brain capacity left. In one of my videos, the trash truck showed up, and there's a very good chance it's going to show up again this morning, so bear with me. But anywho, today I wanted to talk about foster care, and I'm really excited about this one. A lot of people, I think, assume they know about foster care, and they don't. I'm going to have a couple of our kids actually talk and share about foster care probably in the next video. But first, I just wanted to share kind of about our experience and what we've experienced with the system, with everything, and just kind of our story. You know, for us, actually right around, like before Grayson was born, we had decided we wanted to be foster parents. And so we'd started reaching out and finding, you know, what we needed to do. And at that time, our county had said, we don't offer the classes super regularly, but when we do, they're on Saturdays. And at the time, our church did a Saturday night service. And so it really wasn't realistic for us to take the class. Guys, I told you I'm so tired, but that's okay. It's gonna be a great day. So we put it off. And then it actually was probably a good thing because once Grayson was born, I mean, the first year of her life, every month we had at least one hospital admission, not to mention she was over the age of 1 before we were traveling to before we stopped traveling to the city at least twice a week. So it was hectic and it was crazy. And then before we could even think I was pregnant with Silas, surprise. And so once we kind of felt like things were kind of calming down and we'd started talking about it again, Tony was like, kind of reached out to our county again and asked them, and like, well, we're not even doing classes at all now because we don't have enough interest. And so they're like, but what you can do is you can go down to a different county and take the class. And so at that time, one of the counties about 45 minutes away, they did classes a little more often. And so we found something in my hair on Tuesday nights. And we're like, this is awesome. Okay, we're going to take these. And so we turned it like into a date night. So we would get home from work, get the kids settled in with the babysitter, go have dinner, and then attend the classes. And so we did that for 9 weeks. We had 9 weeks of classes. There were 3-hour classes each week. And then as soon as our foster care classes were over, they actually were like, we're holding 2 Saturday, I think they're like 6 or 8 hours, I don't remember exactly, classes for 2 Saturdays that make you foster to adopt. So if you become a foster parent, you can't just automatically adopt kids out of foster care. You have to go through another training. You go through a different home study. You get different information and paperwork done. And so we're like, you know what, let's just go ahead and knock it out. You know, we just took our classes. And that was our goal, was to be able to help a child long term. And what I think is funny is at the foster to adopt class, they asked us, like, how many kids are you willing to like take in and adopt? And I thought they said, like, how many kids do you want total? And at that point we already had 3 of our own children. And so I was like, I don't know, probably like 6. And everyone looked at me like I was crazy. And like even Tony, and I'm like, why 6 kids really isn't that much? But the question was actually, how many kids would you be willing to adopt? And so I said 6, which is actually funny because now we have 5 kids that are not biologically ours. And so 1 more if anybody knows somebody who's got a child that they need adopted. And I will meet that goal and everyone can think I'm crazy still. So got all our classes done, got our home study done. I will say it's tough. It's tough working with the system. It's one of those things where there's a lot of need and not a lot of people working. And so it can become very frustrating and you can get very aggravated with those who work with like children's division and child services and all of that. But what you have to remember is they're dealing with, there's for one of them, they can have like 40, 45, 50 cases, if not more. And so the pressure and that we feel with our one case, it's very heavy, and all of that, like they have times 40 plus. And so it took us a little longer to get it all done than we had hoped. We started in January. We were not licensed until May, which honestly, come to find out, is actually really short. It didn't feel really short, but it's short for a lot of people. Some people wait, kid you not, like a year for the whole process to be done. So we are thankful for that. We're thankful that ours was only 5 months, 6 months, whatever that would be. So we got licensed, and when we were doing the licensing process, they were like, oh, you just wait, like, we've got so many kids, and there really are. Our county they were sending a lot of kids out of county to be placed. They're like, we have so many kids, like, you'll probably get a call, like, the day you get licensed. And so when we found out we were licensed, I'm like, okay, here we go. And then nothing for the first week, and nothing for the second week, and nothing for the first, and it came up to about a month that we were licensed and didn't get a placement. And so I was starting to get really frustrated. We were hearing that like some people were taking in like 2 to 3 placements within a couple days. And I'm like sitting over here like, wait, haven't even gotten a call. And so that was kind of frustrating. At the time we were licensed for, I think 0 to 4, or 0 to 5-ish age-wise, because you tell them like what ages you feel would be best for your family. And waited. Well, then we get a call on a Friday, and they're like, we have a set. Hi, Grayson. I don't know what she said. Just come here. You want your school? It's not school for you yet. Anywho, and so, where was it? Oh, we got a call for, it was a 7, 8, and 10-year-old. And so that was obviously out of our age range, but they had actually known us. They had attended the church some. And, hi. And so, hey, look at my lips. Please wait. Okay. And so they had attended the church some through our bus ministry, and they knew who we were. And so we're like, yeah, let's say yes. And so they're like, cool, we'll get you some more information later on in the day. So at this point, I'm like, I have nothing for 7, 8, and 10-year-old. Like, I have to get clothes. I need, the bed we had at the time was like a kid bed. And so we had to switch our game up. And we went throughout the day, I was like, what are even toys? Like, what toys do they like? And so later on that day, we were actually out and about with my mom, and they called back and they're like, actually, we're not going to place them with you. One of the kids' teachers decided to take them in as a kinship placement. So a kinship placement is normally, and used to be referred, is only family. So if they had a family member who's willing to take them in. Now what they call it is fictive kin, I think is the exact word. But it's where you know them. So like, if there were kids in our youth group that needed a place to go, we could actually get first dibs on placement because they knew us. Teachers do that a lot of times, counselors, stuff like that. And so it was super devastating. At this point, we had been waiting and waiting for this placement, and then we got it, and then it was like, just kidding, And so my heart was kind of broken, and for the next couple days, I was just sad. I was just expressing to Tony about how, like, I'm just mad because, like, I feel like this is what we were supposed to do, and I have this longing in my heart to help kids, and now, like, nothing. And I know they're out there. Because half of them come to our youth group, and the schools talk to us about all these kids that need parents, and so it's just really frustrating. And so went throughout the weekend, and then Monday rolled around, and it was time for Grayson to go back to school. So she went to school that morning. We dropped her off, and me, my sister, and Xandria and Silas decided to head to the zoo. We do that all the time. And so got her to school, went to the zoo, spent the morning, and Tony was out of town. He was headed out of town. And so while we were at the zoo, we were over, they're having this, like, I want to say it was a bee. It was either a bee or a butterfly exhibit. Amanda took them through, my sister. And I was just sitting on this bench. And if you saw my post from a couple days ago, I actually kind of shared this story, but I was sitting on that bench and I got a phone call from Tony, and he's just like, babe, he's like, I like have such an urgency to pray for the kids that are going to be in our home. And I was like, okay, you know, let's do it. And so we just prayed right there on the spot. And after we had them praying, it was hot. It was, you know, the end of June. And so we loaded up the kids. It's time to go pick this girl up, and got in the car. We walked out to the car. We were actually by the back entrance, walked right out to our car. And as we were pulling on the highway, my phone rang again. I looked down and it was from a neighboring county, and I'm like, that's weird. And so I kind of had an inclination of what it probably was, but I wasn't 100% sure. Ow. Ow. And so I answer the phone, and they tell me, you know, we've got these 2 kiddos. And I will say one thing: if you decide to get into foster care, you may not get all the information exactly correct. You know, we were told 2 ages that were a little bit off. We were told of our foster son maybe having a specific diagnosis, and he for sure had that diagnosis. Like, there was no doubting it. But at this point, they had actually been with an emergency placement for a few weeks. They got pulled and placed with emergency placement, but she wasn't able to care for them long term because she already had 5 other kids in her home, one of which who had to travel down to the city almost daily for counseling and therapy. And she's like, these kids are great, but I don't have the time. And so when I heard from the caseworker, I got one story, and I was like, oh yeah, like, we're cool with special needs, like, we get it. I knew everybody I needed to talk to and who I needed to call, and I'm like, great. And then she's like, here's the name of the foster mom who has them currently, if you want to connect with her and get some more details. Perfect. So I called her, and the story was definitely different. It was not quite as peachy as had been let on. You know, it was, oh no, he's completely nonverbal. You know, he functions kind of like a newborn baby, even though he can walk. They weren't eating at this point. They were eating she's like, we just got them eating certain food. They're used to milk. And so I was like, oh wow, this is actually going to be a greater undertaking than I realized. But she just told us, she's like, regardless though, she's like, they're happy kids. Like, they don't really cry. They just kind of exist. And if they really need you, they don't even tell you. So that was like, okay, I didn't really know what that would look like. And so we actually got them 2 days later. We went and picked them up. They had a visit with their parents, because that's another thing with foster care. If you decide to be a part, you're going to have parent visits, and you get an opportunity to connect with the parents. For us, it's been okay. We have had no issues with our parents. We struggle a little bit with no-shows to the visits, but other than that, they've been nice to us. They've thanked us. They've never been whatever. And I know for a fact, though, that is not always how it goes. And so I don't want to sit here and say like, oh yeah, like the parents are going to love you. No, from my understanding and the people that I have come in contact with, about 75% of the time they don't like you, because in their head, you're the one with their kids. It's not that the juvenile office took them, or the cops took them, or children's services took them. It's that you have their kids and they don't. And so, but we have been blessed with that. I think that's God's hand upon the whole situation. But so we went and picked him up from a visit, and we brought him home that day. And I will never forget the day we brought them home, because, you know, we put him in the car, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I have just like, boom, like in 2 days, you know, when you are pregnant, like you have 9-10 months to like prepare. And now it was like 2 days ago, they tell me I'm having 2 kids who are young, toddler age, and prepare yourself. And I got in the car, and I was like, okay, like we can do this, like this is okay. And I mean, they weren't really doing anything, they were just sitting there. And Xandri leaned over to our foster son and was just like, I just want you to know that if you don't stay here for a long time, I will still love you forever. And I'm up front like crying, because I'm like, oh my gosh, she gets it, like this is amazing. And I was just so excited. And that's another thing, people a lot of times will ask us, you know, how do your kids do with this? How do your kids handle this, when we have when the other two have had to go to like respite, they offer something called respite, which is where other foster families or somebody you know who goes through the process to become licensed to do respite actually gets paid to watch them for a few days. You get so many units of that a year. And so when our 2 foster kiddos have gone to that, the kids are heartbroken if we go anywhere and they don't go with us, because there are just certain things that they, especially when we first got them, that they just couldn't do because of, you know, the situation they were at and where they were developmentally. But they were just heartbroken. They, from day one, called them their brother and sister. Even now, they'll call them their brother or sister. Xandria will sometimes like expand on that, like, yeah, you know, well, they're our foster brother or sister, but for the most part, just they're their brothers and sisters. And so, and I'm not excluding our 3 teenagers right now. I'm just talking about our 2 little ones. Our 3 teenagers, we're actually, once things are in a little different spot, we're going to do another video on that. Our 3 teenagers, we are not adopting them out of foster care, but they were in foster care for years. And so it's a little bit different. But our whole family, all of them, they're brothers and sisters. I don't know what you're doing. They love them, they hang out, and they fight like brothers and sisters. So that's always fun. But they came in, and when they came in, it was hard. And, you know, we're dealing with a lot of things, that some that are diagnosis related, some that are just trauma related, that I may share more of down the road. But as of right now, I'm not sharing everything. And so, like, you notice, well, we don't usually share their names. That's just to protect them, protect their, who they are and everything. Hey, stop. But so that's kind of our story with foster care. That's our story with how we ended up here. And I know I gave little tidbits of information throughout this one, but this is just the first video. So the next video, I'm going to answer some more of your questions. Like I said, I kind of put in little tidbits of information, how long the training is and the home studies and all of that throughout this video. But that's our story and how we came to do foster care. We're over a year into this now. It's also super uncommon, coming to find out, to only have 1 placement. So another thing with foster care is, in our state, you can only have 5 kids technically. And people are like, how can the state tell you can only have 5 kids? Well, no, they can't tell you can only have 5 kids, but when you are dealing with foster kids, you can only have 5 kids in your house without a exemption. And so when we took their placement, we were full. We could take emergency placements, but they would probably try to move them. And then when we got the teenagers, we had to get another exemption, because you're also not supposed to have more than 1 medical placement, and both of our foster kids are medical placements. And so that was an exemption. And then to have more kids, that had to be an exemption, where a judge had to look at the situation and say, is this best for everyone involved, and sign a paper. And so, but we have those. So that's how we're able to have 8 kids. It was a super God thing that was threatened a couple times, that it wasn't going to be possible and people were going to have to get moved around, but we haven't had to deal with that yet. And so, so this is where we're at. We're a year in. We've only had 1 placement. It hasn't been that like kind of revolving door. Our 1 placement, there's a lot going on with it. We're hoping to find out more in the next couple of months with where the long term of that is going. And but for right now, we're just gonna love them. We're gonna love them. I mean, even if they go, they will always be my kids. Like, there will be a hole in my heart that they had, you know, where they had been. And but for now, we just love them, and they're a part of our family. And people ask me, I'm like, I got 8 kids, and sometimes I do have to do the breakdown. Like, okay, you don't look old enough to have 8 kids, especially the 8 kids you have, and they all look like they could be twins. And so then when people ask questions, I'm like, okay, yeah, like their ages are close. And like I said, we have 2 pairs of twins, because our foster kiddos and our 2 youngest biological kiddos are the same ages. And so it's insane and crazy, quote unquote. No, it's legitimately insane and crazy. But thank you guys for watching this video. I can't wait to share some more about foster care and answer some more questions, and even have some of our older kiddos talk to you guys about what it's like and their perspective as being the child that was bounced around from home to home. So we love you guys. Make sure to subscribe to our channel. Share this with someone who may be interested in fostering, and maybe this will, push them to do it. It's hard, but it's so worth it. We love you guys. Bye. Hey, say bye.